welcome to Legally Speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today, the buzzword in India everywhere is air pollution because not only Delhi, but many of the world's polluted cities are in India. Other countries have performed much better than India by reducing their air pollution, but India remains in a category where sort of we are not able to contain it. Governments have been in the past years, in fact, I would credit the courts more to taking this decision to sort of improve the environment, whether it was the introduction of CNG buses long ago came after a court order, so on and so forth. And Justice Sikri also has played a part in reducing pollution when he was on the bench, and he had very strong views on this issue by various judgments, which we all know which they are. But for the first time, we are linking environment to investment climate in India because people consider pollution in a country a strong indicator whether they should invest. And why should now India take steps so that we can sort of reduce pollution, whether that comes via an executive order or via a court order? An order in this regard is essential. I want to welcome an eminent panel today who sort of will reflect on this subject. I want to welcome India's leading arbitrator, Justice Arjun Kumar Sikri. As we all know, Sir is a sitting judge at the Singapore International Commercial Court. He earlier served as a judge of the Supreme Court of India, the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court, the Chief Justice of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, and also a judge of the Delhi High Court. Currently, of course, as I said, he's a leading arbitrator and also a sitting judge of the Singapore Court. Thank you for your time and endorsement and a sort of participation that you did for this subject. Appreciate your time. I have with me Senior Advocate Sanjay Jain. We all know from 2014 to 23, he has served as the Additional Solicitor General of India, leading very, very important cases on behalf of the Government of India, arguing them successfully. He also is someone, now he argues for the defense side. So I always say that with Mr. Jain, you get somebody who can argue both sides equally well for the government and, of course, for the private parties. These days, we see him often in court batting on behalf of private parties equally well. Good to see you, Mr. Jain. Thank you for your time. I have with me Sudhir Mishra. He is a very well-known environment lawyer. Recently was also given an amicus appointment and has very strong views on the subject of environment. He speaks very, very frankly without mincing any words. And that is what I like about him, that he says that the air involves all of us, whether it's the biggest politician, the biggest Supreme Court judge, or a lawyer, or a poor person staying in a slum in Delhi. People can stay in different localities, but the air involves all of us. I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. I have someone who is very well known in the energy sector of India, whether it's renewable energy, in a sense, age-old energy types like coal. He has heavy involvement and does cases in the energy sector. We've got Advocate Sri Venkatesh, who is an advocate at the Supreme Court, APTEL, and he is from SKV. Good to see you, Venkatesh. Thank you for your time. At the outset, let me request Justice Sikri to sort of give a bird's eye view on how he links law, economics, air pollution, and investment in India. Over to you.
Thank you, Tarun. First, let me thank you for inviting me and my esteemed colleagues on this panel on this very important topic. As we know, there's a hue and cry in Delhi and in neighboring areas particularly, although it's now becoming a pan-India issue, that is the air pollution, which is causing so much, I would say, ill effects in so many ways. What we can, of course, every common man, man in the street, etc., can tell us about the ill effects of the air pollution, because everybody is suffering because of that. Each and every resident, it suffers. It's like any epidemic. We had COVID, and which had affected almost everybody, so everybody can understand what kind of difficulties such air pollution can bring in, and particularly because a common man will think it from only health perspective. But the topic which you have chosen, and if you weave it through, the most important thing aspects which are to be seen is in the context of when this air pollution, the economics of air pollution on the one hand, and when we talk of health, that is the human rights issue on the other hand. And as a student of, I will say, law and economics, we have come across certain situations, and many times it has, as a judge also, when you are deciding the cases, where the two fundamental rights may collide with each other, or they may come in conflict with with each other, and therefore the courts have to decide that which right should be given primacy. I give you a simple example which everybody would understand. Is that if you remember this case of this liquor ban on highways, that the liquor vents should not be there in within 500 meters on the highway. So what was the reason? The Supreme Court thought, and it considered in its view, which is reflected in the judgment also, that many times the truck drivers, etc., or other vehicles which ply through these highways, and if there are liquor vents available, liquor shops available, they will buy liquor, they will consume it, and then it will be drunken driving by them, which causes accidents. And because it causes accidents, and many deaths are which take place, and many lives are lost every year. So therefore, it's a matter of right to life of the persons. And giving primacy to right to life, they said that the liquor should not be allowed. The It raised an interesting debate, and I would say important debate, because the other view was equally possible, in the sense that in criticizing or in critiquing this judgment, what was said was that, look, there is no empirical data or empirical studies that the accidents which take place, it is only because the drivers are drunk, and that is why those accidents are taking place. There may be many other causes. So therefore, whether on the one hand, because of this reason, these liquor vents should be banned, which has the economic adverse economic effect, because it not only all those on highways within 500 meters, so hundreds of thousands of liquor shops would have been banned. It's a question of their employment, question of the excise duty, etc. So if you see from economics point of view, then it was criticized that, look, it is such a measure taken by the Supreme Court is not in the interest of the country, without having any empirical data as to how many deaths are caused only because of drunken driving. So it was a knee-jerk reaction. Yes, that is one part, and therefore they're here. Okay, I'm not going into the judgment and criticizing judgment. What I'm saying is, on the one hand, right to livelihood, on the other hand, right to life. So the two both are fundamental rights. One is guaranteed under Article 19(1)(g), other is under Article 21. So there is, in that way, in a situation like this, there is a conflict, and the court has to choose one. Of course, there should be proper parameters. But when we come to air pollution, I find economics and the right to life, they are on one side, they are not in conflict with each other. This is very interesting situation, why I say so. And here, of course, we know right to life, it is affected,
Yeah.
and it is affected in a big way, in the sense, not only because of this air pollution and the kind of air which is so hazardous, and where the PM 2.5 is it goes up to 500, 600, 700, which is totally unheard of in many other countries, most of the other countries, where it, even if it goes to 50 or 60, for them it is I mean, a kind of emergency in many countries. But anyway, we'll come to that later. But what I'm saying, that yes, it has, the studies have shown in Delhi and around Delhi, because of this pollution, our life expectancy is coming down. That is one. Secondly, in any case, because of this, yes, there are problems, breathing problems, lung problems. I mean, it is causing asthma, etc. And therefore, the health issues are there, and right to health is a part of right to life, as the court has said, Supreme Court has said under Article 21. Now, I read about 2 weeks ago, even the children. Earlier, we say that look, 25 to 30% children, or even when they reach at the age of 4 or 5 years, they become asthmatic. Now, see, I mean, how we are, what kind of future generation we are having. But what I read 2, 3 weeks ago was even children, when they are born, they are asthmatic. So this is over a sustained period of time because of this air pollution, how it is affecting, a fetus in the womb. And from there, and the moment a person is born, then so these are some of the, and you can't enjoy your life. We all of us go for morning walk. We are not able to go for last 2 months for walks. We can't walk it. Children can't play. So all these are various facets of right to life. So that is on the one hand that is affected. At the same time, the effect on the even economic effect is very severe. I would say in that sense, it is that we know health cost. I've said that those persons who suffer from all these kinds of diseases, old persons who start having these lung diseases and other kinds of diseases, what is the cost of their medical treatment, medical cost, health cost, which is there? Then the when we have that, okay, you work from home, how many man days are now? I'm talking in economics term. How many man days are lost? Production is lost, and when there is we stop construction activity, how much indirect loss is there because of that, this construction activity? If I am constructing my house and for 2 months I can't construct it now, it will add to cost. But it is not only the houses, etc. Big projects which come, public projects which come, how much cost it is added to. And then this it is indirectly then affecting the income. There are many events which take place. I'm really amazed by Mr. Messi, who could still come to Delhi. It was, I would say, he was merciful. And he showed mercy by coming to, Messi showed mercy by coming to Delhi. Any other such person will not come to Delhi. He would have cancelled his program. So many
Yeah.
such programs are cancelled, many such events are cancelled, and it affects indirectly many industries as well. So therefore, that is the economic cost to the nation. Above all, what you have said is that when it comes to international investment, because today in international, and it is a part of now today international law also, that any industry, any business should conform to the norms which we call ESG. E is environment, S is social cause of the corporates, that they should contribute, like we have CSR in our Companies Act, that corporate social responsibility, that is S. And G is governance. So therefore, and many times the foreign, if the investments are there and sometimes the cases are filed, if ultimately it has become a defense against the investor case in arbitration, I have seen, if these norms are not followed. And if you see, I think in today's newspaper only it has come, the advisory issued by various countries, including Singapore, New Zealand, I think England and Canada, etc., that don't go to Delhi because of the pollution. We are in December, which is the a season for our, tourist season. We find influx of tourists during the season, but they are now not ready to come. So how much economic loss is there? And most important loss, which can have far-reaching consequences, is investment. Many, we are just hearing it. I don't know whether that is correct or not. That in Gurgaon, etc., and near about places, many corporates who are having their offices here, they want to shift their offices to south. Of course, they will remain in India. In that sense, economic effect is not there, but at a particular place, it will have effect, and it will have quite serious impact on the economic conditions of the people living in Gurgaon and other places if those things are shifted. So therefore, here is an issue, if I may say so, where both from economics point of view also, from human rights point of view also, air pollution is a menace, which is a health emergency, which has to be taken care of as soon as possible. There are many other countries who have, been able to battle it out. We know London, we know Beijing, which did, and many other countries. So that would be my initial comments.
Thank you for so beautifully encapsulating this issue and sharing various viewpoints. And a very important point which you also shared, that the investment may not entirely go out of India, but may shift from north to other states where the environment is in a slightly better shape. The AQI is better. I'll go to Sudhir Mishra, somebody who's very, very vocal on environment issues, for his intervention. Over to you, Mr. Mishra.
Most of the points Justice Sikri has covered, and he has given us a complete roadmap where we are faltering. I will only say that we were, as a country, internationally, when you travel, people now started calling us last 10, 15 years land of the tiger. And the reason is they used to feel that India saved the tiger for the world. So that's a brand for you. It's a huge brand promotion for you because 140 crore people managed to save their tiger. Africa has not been able to save. Most of the other countries have not been able to save. Not only you save the tiger, you save the forest. So you save almost 18% of forest. At the time of independence, you had 9% of forest. Now you have 18.5% of forest. That's your brand equity internationally. People used to think that you have done great on non-conventional energy. You pass a judgment where you balance economy, what Justice Sikri so rightly said, sometime both development and environment will be on one side. So there was a judgment in 2024 in MK Ranjit Singh, where a IUCN protected bird had to be saved. And that bird was saved and the solar lines were also allowed. That's the kind of country we were perceived as. But when it comes to air pollution, the story collapses. The brand positioning of India collapses. It's true, I am living in this city since 1989. And Chief Justice has just said it, hinted it day before yesterday. Tomorrow is a very critical hearing. He said it very correctly that the poor suffers the most. And it's the greed of the rich which is also the reason. It has a very deep meaning. I'll give you one hint. When I came to Delhi in 1989, in my ragging in Delhi University, first question was said, how many cars are there in Delhi? I was not able to respond properly. So they said all the other three metros put together. So that's our reality. We will have one floor with 10 cars. We will keep on constructing the same houses. The entire Delhi looks like a large parking lot today because all the residential areas have been converted into commercial areas and whatever remaining is there is under construction. I did few videos when I went to Copenhagen last year when we created India-Denmark investment corridor. And I deliberately took a photograph of a large commercial construction. The kind of dust management they do, nobody in the vicinity knows that there is a large construction happening. Now, here, whether it's a small residential construction or a large construction, the kind of precautions which our real estate industry takes is simply elementary. It is not going to help us, and that dust control will not happen. On top of it, November 2025 will be something will be remembered where few decisions have been given by the Honorable Supreme Court, which is not going to be good for the air pollution of Delhi. One is a relaxation given in one Shakti matter, where environmental clearance was said that you don't have environmental clearance, you can take it later also. Now you give that concession to real estate sector and how much responsibility you put on the real estate sector, fully knowing that your pollution control boards are understaffed. They are hardly having 40 to 50% people. Who is going to monitor that how good is the construction? Are they doing the best quality of dust control? And most importantly, Aravalis. Now, since another judgment has come in November 2025, where the definition of Aravalis is being revisited, and Aravalis is not a mountain of 100 meters, it's the natural green barrier, which actually works as a sand barrier, which will save to Delhi. And Justice Sikri will remember that if you see the old records of Delhi, I was a student of history. About Delhi, they say धूल की आंधियां आती थी. 16th century, 17th century. We are geographically in a very different spot. So you expect this geographically in a different spot, and our grid is one of the highest in the country. How do you balance both the things?
Point very well taken. I'll go to Mr. Sanjay Jain, senior advocate, who we know sort of. So, one thing that I must reveal to you about Mr. Jain is that whenever he has free time and I check with him, we find him in Jim Corbett or some such place. So, his sort of his and his spouse's love for environment is known, that, he rushes to the jungles and he has sort of any time which he can spare. So your love for being in green environment is well known. Over to you for your intervention.
See, Tarun, about 25 years back, November, December, January, and February used to be the months to look forward to in Delhi. I used to be, Count Justice Sikri will vouch for it. I used to be very actively associated with monuments related work in Delhi as a Council for Archaeological Survey of India. So we would sort of market our national monuments to foreigners for these months. That you please come to Delhi in November to February and enjoy whether it's Red Fort or Tughlaqabad Fort or Qutub Minar or Humayun Tomb, etc. Now all this has become a thing of a past.
Yeah, just to, Mr. Jain, just to add to that, I may not forget. I remember during December, during Christmas vacation, when we go out, many times those who are in Delhi would accuse us. Look, you are going out, leaving such a wonderful weather of Delhi. Enjoy the sun here during these cold days.
Absolutely. So the parties in the Lutyens' lawns used to be things to look forward to. So all this has been lost over last few years, maybe a decade or so. And it is largely due to the reasons what my eminent co-panelists have already highlighted before the house today. The point that I am making is this, that if you link it to the economics, then there are large number of investors who in their own way are very conscientious and who may not like to invest in a country or at a place which cannot take care of its environment. Because what we are ignoring is our inability to contain pollution can be elevated to the level of human rights violation. If my inability to contain pollution is equivalent to human rights violation, then all those investors who are either by law or by some treaty or by some agreement or by some convention are prevented, or who have pledged that they will not make an investment at a place where human rights violation is taking place. And if our inability to contain air pollution and other forms of pollution in any part of this country in general and in NCR in particular is perceived as one, then obviously this country is going to lose a huge deal of investment opportunities. Secondly, what we have seen is this, that there is a constant conflict between infrastructure projects and the environmental issues, the one which Mr. Mishra just pointed out. So that is bound to happen, but thanks to our judiciary and our National Green Tribunal, our judges have consistently been able to provide a solution by striking a right kind of a balance between developmental activities and the preservation of environment. It is a very sensitive issue. And if we handle this sensitive issue with a greater aptitude, with greater clarity, and accepted that it is not only a challenge, but it is also something which requires an expertise in a niche area, and we should engage more and more experts to create a balance, then only not only we may succeed in A, reducing the pollution, B, preserving the investment which already has come, and C, attracting more investment. is what I think.
Thank you, and as usual, you're at your candid best. I'll go to Advocate Sri Venkatesh. Uh, on a average day in court, you are batting for some of India's top private sector companies. Uh, are they doing anything sort of to offset the pollution? I know it's the responsibility is not of them, but how can private sector contribute in your way towards combating this issue? Can opportunities be created where they are allowed to contribute, so it is a win-win? It creates an economic incentive and also people benefit. Over to you.
Thank you, Tarun. See, Tarun, there are, of course, there are opportunities already lost in this to mitigate air pollution, and there are opportunities which actually exist. Now, what is lost? Let me give you a small example. About 5 years ago, the whole narrative behind air pollution in northern India was that this is because of stubble burning. There is a large-scale stubble burning in our neighboring states, which can't be controlled by Delhi, and therefore there's something needs to be done to control this. If stubble burning is controlled, then perhaps the air pollution the months of November, December, and January can be curtailed. That was the understanding of the experts at the relevant point in time. Now, Government of India did come up with notifications saying that all these power projects in the NCR area plus entire northern belt must mix biomass pellets with coal and fire so that there is a consumption or there's a demand of taking this stubble from these farmers. This was a very novel policy. However, the implementation of that has been so poor that there's hardly been any off-taker of this particular technology. I mean, ultimately, really speaking, what was required that you must incentivize any generator who wishes to off-take this stubble and mix it and give him some additional cost, so there is an incentive for him to go that extra mile. That was somehow lost in the whole exercise, and therefore, while on paper there is a policy, that yes, the policy is so vast that the entire stubble for the entire northern region of the entire country is to be used for the purposes of running power plants, but actual offtake is less than 5%. So that's an opportunity lost insofar as this issue is concerned. Now, coming to your question, where does the opportunity really lie? Now, if you look at it, air pollution is not a seasonal phenomenon. It's actually a year-round phenomenon. It gets more severe for us in the months of October, November, and December because of the wind speed, which slows down. Therefore, the answer really lies in finding solutions which can cater to the air pollution on an annualized basis. Now, these answers are quite simple, if you ask me. Now, we have over dependence on thermal technology, and we've already had it for the largest part of time. We have moved to solar. Now, with solar, you need battery augmentation, which is where large corporates are now coming in. They're giving battery dispatchable power so the grid can maintain its frequency. At a very individual level, there is rooftop solar. Now, rooftop solar actually acts as an incentive not only for the overall environment, but for the consumer who puts up the capital cost and sets up this rooftop solar. For example, my father's residence in Delhi has opted for this rooftop solar technology from Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. It's available. So these are the technologies which are actually available to, reduce your dependency on coal and other technologies which are already are creating the pollution year round. That's the first point. Second is, of course, if you look at the automobile industry, there is actually been a large uptake on battery storage cars, and therefore there is a large amount of interest by Indian manufacturers into coming into battery storage. We have Mahindra, we have Tata. I believe JSW is also looking at has picked up some stake in MG, and therefore is looking to set up these cars. So these are actually what we're really concerned with is to have a long-term solution on how to tackle air pollution. Once you tackle that as a solution, make it as part of your national mandate. For example, now when you come to Delhi, for example, just to add one more point. The reason why London could tackle vehicular pollution, Delhi cannot, because there is a congestion charge which is levied on every vehicle which enters the central London, and therefore that becomes actually onerous. So the persons who even own these cars are not willing to take it on a random on a day-to-day basis to central London because they know that it's expensive. So you can implement that in India, provided you have a vast and a very efficient public transport network. So these are larger changes, but ultimately the point that it comes down to, that if you look at this air pollution, there is an opportunity for all kinds of businesses to come up to cater to this problem. And there are enough opportunity here. So I think none of us are really saying that economics is at the cost of environment. That's not the case. I think the real silver lining lies in seeing what is the economics while saving the environment, which is what I think I think the government and the stakeholders, including the judiciary, have to play an active role towards.
Thank you for bringing in that private sector angle and how can they contribute towards making a cleaner, greener India? Because I think any large scale policy without the sort of involvement of the private sector can't be successful. The government alone does not have the bandwidth to implement. I'll go to Justice Sikri here at this point. Uh, do you think judiciary can play its part in monitoring this, or it has to be left to the executive in such situations?
I think as now our ecosystem, judiciary and executive, or I'll say judiciary versus executive, on all kinds of issues of public interest issues in last 20, 30 years, or maybe more than that, it started in 1980s. The where we have come, I think it's not either judiciary or the executive. It has to be both. It has to be combination of both. Because of course, I may say initially that it is the primary task of the executive, the government. Government has to take all these steps, etc., and government has to come out with all these policies. It's the government which has to make necessary laws. It has to government which has to, I mean, issue necessary directives. Now also grab one, two, three, four, etc. All this is these are the government jobs, and that is meant for in our system of where we call separation of powers. This is all meant for the executive to take these necessary actions. But as the things stand now, in last, as I said, 20, 30 years, the way, many times it is the court which have to take up these issues and make the things work. Things start happening when the court intervenes, which, I mean, personally speaking, I feel it should not be so. The government should take action of its own. But yes, um, going by the such a wide interpretation which is given to Article 21, which is our fundamental right, right to life, and it's we say that it's a right to life issue. So therefore, if there is a violation of right to life in that context, the courts get power to adjudicate on such issues, because somebody would come file a case that okay, there is an air pollution, my life is being affected, or life of people is affected, because PIL I can file on behalf of the entire public also, or public at large as well. So therefore everybody can come today, and all issues, most of these issues become human rights issues, and a violation of human rights because of non-action on the part of the government, or the action should have been taken. So the courts pitch in, and therefore I think that it has to be a joint effort. I say for one more reason. Many times, some of the measures which are taken or should be taken, it becomes difficult for the government to take those measures. Which I mean, I'm very frank in that, because the government, or the government in power, or even the whether it is opposition government, sometimes they will not go to those or try to take those steps which may be unpopular, because they have to look for votes also. They won't like to do that. I and here it is, I always say that it is the judiciary which is like Shiv. We zahar humne peena, we will I mean, like a Shiv who is to who will take this poison, because no other person is taking, and therefore they will take all these kinds of measures which may be unpopular, but the judiciary can afford to. And many times I've seen the government respects and government wants those measures. They think now they, because it is easy for them. So court has issued the directive, and therefore we are doing it. And so therefore, and in any case, many times this, like what Mr. Sudhir Mishra has said, what Chief Justice of India stated yesterday or day before, because matter has already landed, and the court can issue directives, etc. Ultimately, I would say it is for the government, such measures, because the court cannot issue such orders. Court can't spend on these policies, etc. It can't come out with the policies. But court can be a facilitator. Ultimately, it is the government which has to, and I would say that it's not that the government is oblivious of this. Government knows our central government is in Delhi, So all those who are living in Delhi and they are all affected by this air pollution. It's not that so they are all from Prime Minister down to the lowest person, a peon in the government of India. They are all in Delhi as far as central government here is concerned. So therefore, everybody is affected, and it's a matter of record that the government is aware of it. The government wants to take action, but yes, whether they are able to take those kinds of action which are or those kinds of measures which are necessary, it should not be like give, another example I give. Sometimes there is always a blame game that party in power in it is because of Punjab different government, Delhi different government and all. I'm not going into all this, but here again judiciary can come forward and say that, look, don't
Yes.
indulge in this blame game. It's an issue which is a human rights issue which affects all of us, and we have to act in unison. And these are those kinds of issues where it should not be politicized, but in public interest, everybody should work. And so, therefore, I would say both. And as far as the again another thing, as far as the judiciary is concerned, it can always give a legal color in the form of whether it is human rights or it is the form of economic rights, etc., and then come out with legal solutions also and legal mandate with reasoning why we are doing so and why we want to do so. That may help the government to take further action. So there, it is one such area, and you have seen many times when in such cases when the attorney general or solicitor general is appearing, so, and on the other hand, say public interest litigant or the advocate like Mr. Mishra is there. So the other side will say, no, no, we don't treat it as adversarial because we have to join together to find solutions because they are in the interest of the public. So that would be my answer.
I like the sort of nuanced view you bring into the issue, where you said that the government also would like the judiciary to sort of pass something so that they can enforce it, that the court has said it. How you beautifully you slid in that point while speaking to us. I'll go to senior advocate Sanjay Jain. Uh, I want to ask you why through the government will the drastic measures would work, Mr. Jain, or it has to be a phased approach over 2 3 years, or we should take some drastic steps given the kind of air that we are breathing today. You're not audible. I think you'll have to unmute yourself.
First of all, I would like to take forward what Justice Sikri just mentioned. It's a doctrine of necessity. The government cannot afford to outrage people or to take strict actions against people that you are asking about. Our country is not ready because our most of our people are not that well off that they can afford the kind of preventive measures are required to maintain and preserve the ecosystem or environment of a particular city. Delhi's population is now nearly 3.5 crores, for which Delhi was never meant to be. The purpose of creating NCR was to take away some of the population away from Delhi, and for which it was imperative that some key central government ministries also are located outside Delhi. But that has not happened. I do not understand why do we need to have a ministry except say cabinet secretariat or Ministry of Finance, Defense, just key or home ministry, 3, 4, 5 ministries may necessarily be required to be stationed at Delhi. But other ministries could have been moved out of Delhi, and accordingly, large number of people, the government employees, could have also have been moved out of Delhi in the different zones of NCR, which has not happened. So the government looks forward to the judiciary to pass those orders and then explain to the people that, look, we didn't want to do all this. We didn't want to be so strict, but what can we do? The honorable judges have passed these orders. They don't understand the ground realities. So this suits the government in a way to rely totally on judiciary. Howsoever criticism government may undertake vis-a-vis the judiciary, but government is actually looking forward to the judiciary to bail them out in these kind of situations. So therefore, ultimately, what we have to understand is this, that we can perhaps not implement a model of Singapore or London or Tokyo or any other place which we would like to implement in Delhi or in any part of India, because Indian system, the ethos of people, the feelings of people, the lifestyle of people is totally different. So we have to take steps in a phased manner. And in that regard, it's a very interesting point that Venkatesh mentioned, is that whether we want investment for prevention purposes or we want investment for cure purposes. Because if you want cure only, then all right, health sector will be ready to come in to cure the asthmatic patients. But we want prevention. So for prevention, of course, electrical vehicles are one way, but then it is actually we have just been latching on to two or three examples for more than a decade. Today we have such a beautiful and wonderful metro railway system. So public transport system has enormously improved in Delhi. But has it really contributed to the reduction of environmental issues? Not. So therefore, a fresh thinking has to be done. Real causes have to be identified. Phased measures have to be taken in a phased manner, in a staggered manner to eradicate the issue.
I may add, actually, only because I realize now that one very good example I can give is judiciary and executive government, which Mr. Jain also alluded to. Two examples. One was in early 90s when Justice Kuldeep Singh was in the Supreme Court and Green Bench. He ensured that all hazardous industry from Delhi would move out. So this was one measure which government would have never taken, could not have afford to take. I mean, it was very, very difficult. Other was CNG when Justice Kirpal did
Yes,
that. So
absolutely.
CNG, as well buses, three-wheelers, etc., or public vehicles, all would be only CNG. I remember at that time from government there was rather very stiff resistance. The chief minister at that time, she said that I'll rather go to jail than obey these orders. But
Absolutely.
ultimately, not only they obeyed, the government, if you read on the buses, DTC buses everywhere, that they started taking pride in it that it is the government which has done so initially. So these are some kinds of measure. These two examples which came in my mind are where where the court only can take such steps and the government will not take initially.
I think, sir, that judgment, those orders were passed in the Taj trapezium matter, MC Mehta. That has continued mandamus for almost
Correct,
30 years
correct,
now.
correct,
19, 40 years, 1985 to 2025.
yes, yes,
And all these issues are resolved one after the other in that matter only.
correct.
I Now we'll go to Advocate Sudhir Mishra. If Mr. Mishra were to be given a free hand, we would see extreme measures on this issue, given his strong views on the subject. So we will go to his intervention on whether he prefers a very drastic plan, given we are, let me be very candid. This is the first winter where a lot of seniors, lawyers, other people I speak to are complaining of congestion, of sore throat, which even till last year wasn't visible. For the first time, people you call and they are unwell. They are scared to move out. This never happened in Delhi before. So this year has been unusual in this aspect. I'll go to Advocate Sudhir Mishra.
Tarun, I will not even suggest any draconian measures or something because if you remember last year, as amicus in the carbon emissions matter in the Supreme Court, I was pushing for, and I so agree with Justice Sikri, how court sometimes becomes a very important instrument of change. And we asked for this regularization of air conditioners temperature that like West, we should also have 23-degree or 24-degree. And I got all Ministry of Power, Ministry of Textile made party there. And finally, the court agreed. They were listening to this entire thing that the air conditioner should have a default temperature setting. And the government came up with a plan. They are saying, yes, we are going to do it in a phased manner, and how much electricity will be saved in the whole country. So sometimes the court gives the government that buffer which it really needs. I know no draconian measures, no sudden measures will handle this. Let's just dissect the problem. I will say what is the problem. 40% is roughly, we all agree, thanks to artificial intelligence, 40% is the contribution of construction dust and road dust. Your Commission of Air Quality Monitoring also blasted DDA because DDA is quite silent for months now since the change of government. What is their role? So what is happening to the carpeting of the road? Whosoever wants, they start digging whenever they want to dig. My one suggestion would be, and this is very important, a law intern, in fact, came and Sanjay sir, he asked me that Delhi High Court gives these personality rights to the whole country. And what about the fundamental right to breathe? Of late, not even a single order has come under Article 226. And Honorable Chief Justice of India has said day for yesterday very clearly that we want this to be offloaded to the other courts and other places. My point is very clear. You need air benches. The time has come. Either you call it a climate bench or a air bench. All these neighboring high courts need to have air bench like the green bench. You remember for the construction of the new building in the Supreme Court last year, the Supreme Court CPWD, in fact, went to Delhi High Court to seek the permission for translocation of those trees. I was handling that matter for CPWD. So that's the kind of country we live in. We have to have shared responsibility. One Supreme Court alone cannot monitor under MC Mehta the air pollution issue. The 40% is the dust. Then comes the vehicular traffic, where I'll tell you the alarm bell. I feel something drastic will happen if I know this government well, and that drastic will be something which should be we should be prepared. Any carbon emission won't be happening in the vehicular section unless you have a phased out plan for fossil fuel. That is the second. And the third is which Venkatesh very rightly pointed out about the thermal power plant scenario. Of course, we shut the immediate ones, but the thermal power plants which are far away, which have sulfur dioxide issues and other issues, they need to be properly seen that how efficient they are. So these are my quick points, but I truly believe the time has come that Delhi High Court can surely pull up pollution control boards and ask what is happening on the dust control, what is happening on the entire vehicular management. Last point, which is very important, if you remember, one major activity which happened, as Justice Sikri said, that how the court was actually monitoring. We had these advocates working as marshals at the traffic lights in the night to stop the trucks. We have not been able to stop the trucks because there are 100 points to enter Delhi. And in order to save 500 to 700 the toll, you are not using the Western Peripheral Road and the Eastern Peripheral Road. You are crisscrossing Lajpat Nagar, Defense Colony, and Vasant Vihar in the night, and we are not able to stop it. So these are the practical things which we can immediately do if we have the willpower.
Thank you, Mr. Mishra. I'll go to Advocate Sri Venkatesh. Since you represent a lot of these companies, when I ask somebody that, how do you get people to use electric vehicles in Delhi, they say if you can involve RAT, then everything can happen in this country. So I said, what do you mean by involving RAT? They say give it to Reliance, Ambani, and Tata. So I said, what would they do? So they say, when you tell, you have to just direct RAT that every square kilometer they put charging stations. So then I asked, why? They say, because see, all rich people live in bungalows, they can have their own charging station below in their parking. But for a lot of middle class people, they need public charging stations. And that is when they will adopt electric vehicles. So, Venkatesh, I want to ask you in all sincerity, could you tell Reliance, Ambani, and Tata, for example, there could be other companies in all fairness, that in every square kilometers, you need this 150, whatever is required charging stations. So even a motorcycle person or a car person, whenever he wants, at a very nearby distance, has a charging port where currently they are charged at commercial rates, power. So they find that keeping an electric car is expensive because electricity is commercial rate. Could that be reduced to domestic rate? So there is actually an incentive because a car is expensive, then you pay commercial rate. So when you actually get that slip of recharge, it is very expensive like petrol. Do you think there the government may need to look at?
1 minute. I think when you said RAT, not Reliance Ambani, Reliance Adani. Well, Ambani and Reliance is one and same thing.
You're right. I correct myself. It's Reliance, Adani, and Tata.
Adani and Tata. Yeah.
Adani and Tata.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. It's Reliance, Adani, Tata. That's what I meant, but I think, yeah.
So, Tarun, see the way this power distribution business and public charging positions work is that actually, if you ask me, insofar as Delhi is concerned and Bombay, the distribution network is owned by private entities. It is in Delhi, it's owned by BSES and Tata, and Bombay, it's owned by Adani, Tata, and MSCDCL. That's the mix of the two large cities. Now, they anyways want to set up these chargers. It's not a question of these chargers not being set up, these charging stations not being set up. The question is, what is the offtake of the technology amongst the masses? Now, unless and so, what is if you ask me, the real reason why electric cars are at an advanced stage in Europe, Europe, California, as opposed to India? I mean, these are the two. I mean, I'm only comparing places where it's actually mandatory to own electric cars vis-a-vis India, where there's a migration which is taking place. It's because by law, there is a requirement in certain large metropolitan cities globally that you can't own these IC engines. And if you own them, the taxation is 3 times. Now, this is the law which they have created to ensure that there is an offtake of these electric cars. So, I like Justice Sikri and Mr. Mishra were alluding to, is that do you think is it possible for a parliament or a state legislative assembly to frame a law which would tax in combustion engine 3 times over electric cars? The answer to that will perhaps be no today, because it's not an easy decision for somebody to take. You're affecting multiple economies when you take that decision. The easier decision, according to me, is that if you only incentivize electric vehicles. Now, funnily enough, I'll give you a simple solution which has been brewing in my mind all these months, and it completely defies logic why it's not happening. Hybrid cars in UP have no registration.
Yeah.
There is no registration in UP for a hybrid car. Electric cars in Delhi have a 5% registration. Now, what is I mean, UP is a model state, our neighboring city. It's a model state. If you buy hybrid cars there, you don't pay for any registration. That's an automatic saving and incentive for somebody to buy a hybrid in UP. Similarly, you in Delhi make it incumbent that any electric car which is purchased in Delhi will have no registration, and you give them some benefit in insurance.
You are saying registration fee.
Registration fee, sir.
Yeah.
Registration
Yes,
has to
sir.
be-
Yes, sir. It's a lower percentage, but it's still not free.
Yeah.
So that is one way you can perhaps control the behavior of masses in tilting them towards buying these cars. And insofar as infrastructure is concerned, I quite see. And your last question was at what tariff should they be charged insofar as these vehicles are concerned? Again, this is also something which can easily be solved because these tariffs are fixed by the regulator.
Yeah.
So if the regulator is told that, look, it's a government of India's policy decision to incentivize electric vehicles, and therefore you give them the lowest possible tariff, they will do it. Now, I'll give you another example, and this has happened in India. In 2010, the government of India had a big push for renewable energy. And 2015 onwards, the renewable energy has taken up. Solar generation were the highest in the world right now. Why?
Yeah.
Because initial years, the incentive to setting up a solar project in Gujarat, the tariff was 15 rupees per unit. That is what got the investors, the economics into that business, and then you carried it on with competitive bidding and and connectivity, so on and so forth. Similarly, to create the buzzword, there are few key policy decisions which are required to be taken, and then the issue can perhaps be addressed in that manner. Last point, I think what you asked Justice Sikri, that I wanted to add one sentence, and which is what I told you in the show before about Justice Suryakant, that we were doing the show as well. That right now we have these issues in the Honorable Supreme Court starting from September, ending in February. There are PILs filed, there are hearings, and of course, people like Mr. Mishra, who are bastions for clean energy, would apprise the Honorable Supreme Court. I would hope that looking at this to be an annual feature, let there be a bench dedicated to this activity every week, as we used to have in the good old before pandemic days, Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. onwards, only to monitor what steps are being taken by the neighboring states or all the 5 states in the northern belt, and to see whether there is, because we can't solve this problem in October, we can't solve it in November, we can't solve it in January. We have to solve it by around year coordination, which should happen across the year. Then only perhaps we will see some result. That's my limited understanding. Of course, my seniors have much more experience in this than I do, but that is one suggestion that I could think of. Perhaps may.
Thank you for that insight into what the private sector can deliver, and also courts. As I said, the last word is always with the judge. So I'll go to Justice Sikri for closing the show.
I think, according to me, if I sum up what we have discussed now, this is one problem which affects everybody, every citizen. It affects poor people much more than others. and everybody has right to live. So therefore, we see what are the causes, as Mr. Mishra has already mentioned, that pollution from vehicles, pollution industry and power plants, etc., which are the two major, source of pollutions. And apart from others, we know that this becomes a problem in these months, October to December, and in October, of course, whether that is, this year it has proved that that may not be the only cause, but that still is a cause. That is stubble burning and even firecrackers during Diwali and other festivals. Let me be very candid on that as well. And therefore, what I feel is that keeping in on the one side, we have to keep all these causes in mind. Then we have to formulate a strategy as to how to take care of all these causes, and it has to be not it has to be all pronged. From all angles we have to attack this, and few measures which have already been taken, we are discussing about that. I really like the idea, two things which Venkatesh have said. Number one is that incentivize even the private industry and others, and even the people, their behavior, if we have to change. That, as he said, that if my behavior, if I want to buy electric vehicles, I will go for this if there is no registration fee. Very, interesting example which I have given, which will change the behavior. And likewise, so this is, and secondly, as he mentioned, was about the uh, sitting of this bench whole year, which used to be, I remember 94, 95, when we would appear before, as I gave the example, Justice Kuldeep Singh, every Friday, 2 o'clock onward, we'll have his green bench and we would have all those cases listed before him. Because it's not that we should have a knee-jerk reaction. In October, we are facing, now we should try to talk about it. And it is a thing which is, which can't happen in 2 or 3 months. It would need 1 or 2 years, even that too, when we take all the steps, required step, and that too in very, with all sincere efforts. So in order to ensure all that, it has to be round the year. And once the bench sits, yes, pollution is not the only environmental issue. There we have other environmental issue also, and green bench can take care of those issues as well. And we have air pollution, we have water pollution also, we have other kinds of Sudhir is expert in that, and you can say, so this is what my take would be. Some steps are taken, and I would say yes, the here again I repeat that there should not be any politics. The governments, whether in state there's a different government, and in center different government, etc. There, as we say in politics, when there's a coalition government, they come out with the common minimum program. We used to hear that, okay, even if they're ideals or ideology is not the same, on some aspect which is common, let us on that basis work together and have this coalition government. So here it is not coalition government and working, but the common factor is the public good and public health of the people. Why not come together on that, keeping aside the political consideration, and try to work for the betterment of the society? And that is what, if I may say, as a judge, as a lawyer, that is a constitutional mandate also.
Yeah, very well.
Thank you for reflecting on this issue, sparing time for this issue. Of course, we'll have to do these issues again and again, take up, so that some action, the industry also gets involved. Because I see when we involve the private sector, work gets done really quickly. There is accountability, timelines are set, and of course, there is a financial incentive. I think that will happen soon, at least in the area of electric vehicles. I would like to thank Justice Arjun Kumar Sikri, Senior Advocate Sanjay Jain, Advocate Sudhir Mishra, Advocate Sri Venkatesh for sparing time and joining and giving their insights on this issue, and the audience for joining us. Appreciate that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the Newsx YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.